Peace, peace. Welcome to the show. This right here is Humble Beginnings, where we simply live it through. Y'all know when I say we simply live it through, y'all know I always say this all the time. No matter what adversity or diversity that we go through, all we can do is walk the path. I know a lot of people think we got more control over than what we got. Sometimes we need to learn how to just let it flow. Hey, everything gonna be what it's gonna be as long as we communicate with each other. Oh, man, we got a good show we're gonna have tonight. But before I dive into it, I need to bring my team up because, like I always say, it wouldn't be possible without my team. So, of course, you know what I'm saying? First up, always rocking with me, every time. My boy, Matty B. What's going on with you? Got my girl, Izzy, back in the building.
Hello.
Okay. Got my big sis in the building with us this time. Got Rissa in it. How's it going?
Good.
Okay. So how y'all feel, man? How's it going?
Good.
It's going amazing.
It's
Living
good.
the dream.
So we're gonna talk about hold on. My bad. I got another one that just jumped in with us. Hold up.
What's up, Petra?
With us. What's up, man?
Hello, guys.
All right.
Hello, everyone.
All right.
All right, y'all. We're gonna talk about this thing, love, man. I know some of us have experienced this, done been through some heartbreak, but we're gonna just talk around this thing called love, man. I mean, it's gonna be fun. Y'all ain't scared to talk about love, is it? Y'all shouldn't be. Y'all too old for that.
I'm a little bit scared.
You're a little bit scared.
Just a little bit.
Okay. All right, this is how we gonna rock this thing. All right, so y'all know how we do. We always start off light and then we like to get a little deeper. You know what I'm saying? So, first things first, what is love? So I'm asking this question of what is love because love is a topic that I heard people discuss, and people got so many different versions and so many different things that they like to say. This is love, that's love, this love, that's love, and all that other stuff like that. So one thing that always helped me understand when I hear people say things are better to understand people is if I understand what it is or how you view love itself. Kind of cut back from like a lot of argument to if you understand how people see things first. So that's the first question up. What is love? That's how we're gonna rock it. Oh man, Izzy, I'm gonna start with you. What is love when you hear love, man? What is that?
Well, when I think of love, I think love is unconditional. Love is kind. Love is patient. Usually, I think the greatest example for love is how parents feel for their children. I think that's the strongest type of bond of love there is. Everything else pretty much is like conditional, but that's like an unconditional, like genuine love is the love that we have for children.
Okay. I'm gonna come back to that unconditional part, but I'm gonna let everybody go. Rissa, talk to me, man. What is love? When you hear love, what is that to you?
When I hear love, because as well, you know this, but I'm in God a lot. So when I hear what love is, it brings me back, to what the Bible says that love is. It's patient, it's kind, it's long suffering. It's it is it's just a lot of endurance. And sometimes it's a lot. It's not just the good. You taking the good with the bad when you're talking about love, because a lot of times when people hear love, you only focus on the good things, but love isn't always just the good things. There's some bad that comes with what the meaning of love is too. It's long suffering, most definitely.
Okay. Miss Petra, talk to me. What is love when you hear love? Talk to me.
Oh my goodness.
There you go.
Well, I think when I just currently when I think of love, it just kind of triggers me from my past. So I'm a little bit tainted, but to kind of but I definitely agree with Clarissa. Like, it's definitely about long suffering, unconditional love, um, sacrifices, and sometimes you have to put yourself aside to put the other one. You know, you may not want to just actually eat cheesecake with them, but you're gonna eat the cheesecake. So, it's just little things like that, Or you may not want to
Solid
watch the
example.
ball game with the boys, but you're gonna have to. I don't know. It's just little things like that.
Okay. Matt, talk to me, man. What is love, man? What is love when you hear love, man?
I think it's just an emotion, form of endearment or closeness you have with someone that you created a bond with. Simple and plain. That's all I think it is.
So most people, everybody knows me, know that when I get to talking, I'm just a literal speaker. I don't really dive into all these associative factors that when people play upon words, and every time people go into it, people know I go straight for it. So when I hear love, I understand. I know love it's an emotion, and love is an emotion in which that we express through actions. This is the literal definition. It's an emotion in which that we express through actions, and people show their love in many different ways. I know that sometimes when people talk about love, they like to get into these ideas of saying when you love someone, you will do this. That's not necessarily true. That might be the way that you would address your love, because we all love differently. Some people are very submissive within their love, like kind of like what Miss Petra was pointing to, that you make a lot of compromise and a lot of submissive stances when it comes to love. But I would, just because somebody don't do it, that's not really a channelment of the love, because that might not be how people show their love. That's why they got this thing that people call love languages. You know what I'm saying? That people express in many different facets. So I think that's how that works. So now that we're talking about what this love is, right? We're gonna dive a little bit deeper. Do y'all think most people love people for just who they are, or do you think that more people love people kind of because of their toolage? And when I say toolage, I typically talk about the things that people can do for them. So in y'all opinion, do y'all think people just really just look at people like, man, I just love you for who you are? Or do y'all think that the love comes more within the toolage that people then provide? Miss Petra, come on, talk to me. You look like you anxious.
I haven't been on it for a minute. That's that's so broad, because I wouldn't even because that's two separate categories right there. And of course people they would interpret love in their own way, and it's how you perceive it. Of course there's certain people, they would just be like, oh, I just love you because you provide for me doing this or that, or there's others that really are truly, and obviously I'm on this spectrum, as far as like in it for the long run. And I'm talking about more in relationship wise, like as far as like investing like that time and effort, and not just because you do XYZ and I'm expecting some type of materialistic stuff behind it. No, it's just, you're a genuine person, and I see you as like as one sort of thing, so I don't know if I'm going overboard with that, but I don't know. I always get flustered with these questions, but
So Izzy, what you think? Do most people, and I'm just asking you what y'all see out here? You know what I'm saying? Not necessarily you, but when you look at most people out here, do you think that you see more people are loving for who people are, or more people loving more so for their toolage?
I think it's a cocktail of both. But if I was to be honest, I think it's more so for the toolage. I think at first it's like a transition. They do that, but who they are is what attracts you to them. But then, it's like, okay, so like, what can you do for me? And if you are, um, you know, able to accomplish the things that I need you to do, then that's where, like, the love is given. But if you think about it, that's not really, I guess, real love, because that would be a condition, and we say that love is unconditional. So, but just for the sake of the question, I think people do love um, people a little bit more for their toolage.
Okay. Matt, what you think, man? You think? You think people love people more so for who they are? Or you think people loving them more for their toolage?
I would say it's kind of hard to tell, but I would definitely say I think for men it's more of the for who you are, because I mean, because it's harder for us to be social and like deal with certain people in walks of life, that when we do meet somebody that's genuine, that we form a bond with, that love could be more of the person. But I think with women it's typically based on um, what you can do for them, and it's also based on how society has raised them to be, to expect or what can actually help you. So I think a lot, and it's easier for them to actually meet friends as well too. They grow up around, especially if you're a pretty girl, a lot of people want to know you, a lot of people want to be around you. That sometimes they typically lose value of just bonding with people off of friendship. Now they like, what's actually different about this person that I'm not getting in everyday walks of life. So I think they typically value more so what you can do for me, and we typically value more so of toolage. But either gender can actually be involved in both of those.
Okay. Rissa, talk to me. What you think? You think from your optician, you think more people are loving for who they for people for who they are, that connection, so they say, or the toolage?
Um, well, when I hear the question, I can only based off, I can only really talk about me. Um,
Mhm.
but I know that there are people both, both genders that go for the materialistic stuff or the toolage. But for me, I want to know who you are. I can't really love you if I don't know who you are. Like I feel like getting loving you for who you are, then the other stuff comes after that. You're more open to give to someone who you genuinely have love for than to just give it give it in the beginning, because if you give it in the beginning, I feel like it's nothing really behind that, like you just giving me something, but it doesn't have any substance to it. But if I get to know you and I know exactly who you are, and we get to that place where we're like really in love, and then you're giving to me now from a different place. you know I don't want nobody just to I don't want to request anything from anyone, or I don't want no one to look at me like, oh, you're only in this because like I want my hair done or my nails done. I'm not a materialistic person, so I'm not like that. I want to get to know you, and in the same way, I want the same thing back. But it could go both ways. It all depends on who you are.
At what
Like,
age did you think you start thinking like that, or that's something you always thought, like even as a younger person, that you met a person you genuinely loved them for who they are?
I think for me, which I think is sometimes I feel like it's a curse, because when you go in it like that, you honestly end up getting hurt, like eventually, because you go in it for the relationship. I have been married for 15 years. So I'm heading down separation. But for me, I always went in it, or even prior before that, and even after that, I'm always in it to know who you are. So for me, it started very, very young. I think I've always been like this. Like, but you hurt. Like you're easy to get hurt when you're in it for the experience, like the love part of it. Like you sign up to get hurt, pretty much. That's how I feel about it. But it's worth it because it's a learning experience. No matter how it goes, it's a learning experience.
Yeah, I understand that 100%.
Yeah, it is a learning experience for me. But I don't want nothing from you if I don't know who you are, because you can't buy me with your stuff, or with your money. I want to know
But you
who you
know,
are.
but we typically don't give everybody a chance, right? There typically is something at the beginning outside of just having a natural bond with that person that attracts us to one person over another.
My bad.
Would you agree with that?
Right. Yes, that is true. So what you saying, that what I mean by that is, because I don't mind being transparent, is
I'm not disagreeing
um
with you. I'm just adding,
no,
I'm just asking
no,
a separate question.
right.
Got you.
So what, yeah, so I'm about to take this. For me, what my toolage would be at that time would be
Mhm.
like my I was in a well, my husband didn't drive, right? So when I went into uh on a date or something, me was just sitting on the passenger side of a car was a given for me. I don't need nothing from you materialistic just to sit in a car. So people can give you things without it having to come in a money form. You get what I'm saying? It don't necessarily have
Mhm.
to be your hair. It don't have to be your nails. It don't have to be even a dinner. It could just be simple stuff. Of course, it's always a give and take type of thing, but it don't necessarily have to be in that form of where like you're taking something literally from that person, like materialistic wise. Just to sit on a passenger side of a car, what costs what? Nothing.
Mhm.
That was nothing but gas. Well, it's something, with gas, but still, you know.
So so I think so through my optician, when I see most people, I think that this is a step. I think there's a process to it. I think that initially, as people come across each other, I think more people initially love people for who they are in the beginning. But then I think that it becomes toolish to a certain degree. Because even like the old folks used to always say, like, all right, now you can't live off love. So it's like you can just love them and be in love with them in the beginning, but there has to be some tangibles that come after. But now we're talking about maintaining a situation more so than we just dealing with just love within itself now, if it makes sense to people.
I
So
was going to originally answer it the opposite way that you just said it, but I can see where you're coming from with that. But I also think as you grow older, your needs change as well. So some of that comes with growing older because you're younger. What I'm saying, a lot of people just having fun, the excitement. Then you get older, you actually realize, bills, owning the house, kids. We're gonna have grandkids one day, school. People actually start thinking more about that. So they definitely start looking at their mate as, is this the right person I choose, or can they do this, or can we get to this level? But when you're 20,
mhm.
21, 22, a lot of people are basing it solely off how I feel.
Well, yeah, most definitely. Hey, so check this out. I want to hear y'all respond. What y'all think about this right here? So I be searching around looking for certain stuff, right? So I know I seen a survey on u.gov and it was on eHarmony, right? They made the statement that the average time for men to fall in love is 88 days. Women for that exact same emotion, it takes 134 days. What y'all think about that?
88 days?
That's what they
Oh.
said. I mean,
Well,
that's what
why?
that survey
Why?
is
But
saying.
to me, it don't seem like that, because it seems like it takes the man. I mean, in my opinion, it takes them, longer. You know, unless they feel that, but they don't say it. But
Yeah.
women are
88
skeptical.
days is actually,
Women are skeptical.
I mean
you
that's
know.
how both of those I guess those placements that I guess however they did their survey. That's what that's why I said I wanted to hear y'all thoughts on it. It was like the average time for men. This was u.gov and eHarmony. That
Right.
they I guess what they surveyed, it was like it takes men 88 days, but women it takes 134 to fall in love.
Wow.
I
damn,
think it's
I don't
like
know.
the
I don't even think
man.
about that.
I think if the man like sought the woman out first, I think that would kind of make sense.
That's
But
good.
if it was the other way around, then no.
Right. That's
Okay.
good though.
So what y'all think about this right here? I was looking at another site called Elite Singles, and they had a percentage up there. They said that about talking about love at first sight. It says 61% women typically fall in love at first sight, but 72% of men typically fall in love at first sight. What y'all think about that?
I can definitely agree with that because we're visual by nature anyway. I mean, women are visual as well, but I think we are more visual than they are. You know, so we look at a female, and there's immediately attraction level, and we are immediately impressed. Females, they may be attracted to a guy, but they still gonna want to know you on a deeper level because they're gonna actually want to know what do I get from being with you. The more so we look at it as a provider, so we don't even have that part of the equation factored in. I know what I can do, and that's the type of image I want to be seen with. So I can see where that can be accurate based on what I've seen personally.
Okay, so in saying that, you as a man, I'm only asking as a man, when you see
And
a
you can ask anything
woman.
you need to ask.
Okay,
So
so
we don't hold back
when
we don't hold back on this show.
Nah,
We ain't got
when
no
you
purpose in
see,
nothing.
okay, that's good to know. So when you see a woman, you instantly know that this is gonna last, or this is gonna be, or it may be potential there, or is it like after a while? You know?
Well,
I'm not
see,
gonna say
now go ahead, Matt.
I'm not gonna say that I fall in love. I don't believe anybody genuinely falls completely in love with a person off first sight. I do believe that initial attraction that leads up to you falling in love a lot of times is there. Like if I see a woman, because we slot women a lot of times as well too. We look at certain women as, you know, a bust down. We look at certain women as she may be a friend. We look at certain women as that might be wifey. You know what I'm saying? So I think when that person looks at that person, they look at it like that might be wifey type. There is that initial whatever it is that can lead to love. Of course, now you're gonna have to know the person, you're gonna have to speak to them, whatever. But a lot of times people fall in love quicker because that initial thought of seeing the future with that person is there. So now it's easier for you to fall in love once you
Right.
already don't visualize them being in a certain
Okay.
position in your life. So
Okay.
I've definitely seen, of course, not by personality, but seeing a female and be like, damn, that look is the type of look I actually envision for my wife to be. You know, already kind of like she toned, she got nice skin, she got a nice smile, she got herself together. And now when you meet her and you talking to her, it's easier to fall in love with that female than a regular female that I might be she cute. I want to get to know her.
Okay.
So I definitely believe that people can fall in love as far as at first sight because I'm a literal speaker. And when I look at the definition, which is given for the phrase of falling in love, it literally simply says that it's the development of a deep romantic or sexual attachment to someone. That's all it is. So if it's sexual and romantic, oh yeah, I think men fall in love super quickly than that first sight. We going off the definition of which one is given to you.
Right.
So-
Right. Okay.
So if I'm going off of that and I walk the literal path, I think we definitely fall in love at first sight. But I think it's more so on men that do it than women, though.
I agree. I also
think-
say this, Kel. You took the words out my mouth because I was going to ask the question, something you said earlier. You kind of just circled back around to, and I hear people say this a lot of times, and I always be like, it always kind of had me thinking. But people make it seem like lust doesn't have nothing to do with love. Where they be like, that was just lust. I think lust is a part of a love you can have for a person. Like I always hear people say that, and they separate lust from love, and I think those two things can be, you know, together.
So remember I said earlier, I was like, I was waiting on one of my peoples because they brought this up, and this was something that I totally disagree with, and you're channeling into that, and that is what people call infatuation, right? People love to say, "Oh, that ain't love, that's infatuation," but y'all know I'm gonna do this because this is what I do. What we tend not to realize is that infatuation is love.
I say the same thing.
It is love. So people love to say, oh, that ain't love, that's infatuation. But infatuation is literally a part of love by the definition. Now, the difference between infatuation and love, because there is a difference. But the difference is when you fall foolishly for someone
I agree.
that your judgment is now tainted based upon just that emotion.
Yeah, exactly.
That's where the infatuation differs. But infatuation is love in itself. Right. And I know a lot of people like to say they just separate, but they're actually not.
Yeah.
No.
I always thought that. It's the same thing, because you can't tell nobody why they can fall in love with a person, or you fall in love with a person just because of physical attraction. That was just lust. No, that can be a reason you fall in love with a person. Yeah.
I agree. This is why I wanted to challenge a lot of these people along, because a lot of people be misassociating these words. I just bring it to you how it actually is. So, y'all know we about to stop playing with them now. We about to start getting deeper. Y'all know how this show go. Oh, hit them off the bat. Can you be in love without respect for the other person? Oh, I want y'all to think about this thing. I'm gonna run it back one more time. Can you be in love and ain't no respect there for the other person? I'm gonna go off Matt first. I'm gonna let the women ponder on this a little bit. Matt, what you think? Can you be in love when there ain't no respect there?
Absolutely. I definitely believe you could be in love without no respect being there, because like we say, love is just an emotion. Respect is something that you hold. The way I interpret respect as, I know you're gonna go to the little definition in a minute, but it's like somebody has earned something to make you place them in high regard. So I think you can love somebody just on how you feel about them, but still they haven't done anything to gain that respect level. Because I've done it myself. I've met a female, and based on our conversation, based on how much fun I had with her, how she looked and everything, actually been in love with her, but didn't respect her a lot, because I didn't like what she represents, certain things that she was like persuaded by, certain things she showed weakness into. I didn't have that respect there, but I did had love for her because she was fun to hang around with. She had a great personality. I enjoyed the time around her. So I definitely agree that you can be, well, not agree, but I definitely know where you can be in love with somebody and not have respect for them.
Okay. Rissa, what you think, man? Can you be in love and not have respect for them? What you think?
You got me with that one, because it's like, when you say it, like when you ask the question, what goes through my mind is like the question that keeps coming to my mind is like, how can you, what you're saying is just, can you have love for that person? You're not asking, are you in love with that person? Because see, you can have love for that person and still, not respect what their choices are. But but for me, if we're talking about being in love with that person, when you're in love with that person, and that is the person that you genuinely say, hey, this is it, this is who I'm riding for, this is what it's gonna be, you for sure have to have respect. So I'm just like,
when you say this is for context, when you say this is what it's gonna be, what do you mean for that? Are you saying permanent? Like what does that mean?
Yeah, because if you're in love with that person, then it's permanent, right? It's the person that you choose to be in love with. That's it for you for that present moment.
I disagree when you say permanent. When you use the word permanent, because we're talking about love, and that is an emotion, and most emotions aren't permanent.
So let me say this to you, Carissa. If that was the case, then it would be no reason for people to try to make their partners change. If that respect and love went together, what would be the reason? Because you have people that's in love with a person that want them to work more, mad because they lazy, mad because they don't raise the kids right. We should see no issues in relationships if that respect and love was together.
Well, then that means,
or when you say in love, that means there really wouldn't be no room for breaking up neither, because you're using words like permanent. How do you break up from a permanent thing?
Exactly. So, but how can you honestly say that you're in love if that's not what it is at that present moment? Not to say that everybody has people in their life who they have fell in love with, because I'm pretty sure all of you have been in love more than once with different people, but for that chapter in your life, you get what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. For that chapter in your life, that's who you're saying, this is who I'm going to be with. Just, it doesn't mean that there may not be an ending to it, but just for that moment where it is, you get what I'm saying, that's where you are. So that's what I
I get what
mean
you're
when I
saying.
make that comment. Yeah, that's what I mean.
I understand what you're saying. I mean, I don't. I mean, I ponder
It
on the
doesn't
word.
mean that it ain't gonna
The mind
end.
frame, yeah, the mind frame of most people that I've talked to, when they got married, at that exact time, they thought that was it. At that exact
yeah,
time,
of
most people
Right,
yeah, so that's what you're speaking on.
At that time, you
Yeah,
think
saying
in
it's
your
it, yeah.
mind, this is it. Because when I got married, I thought that was it. You get what I'm saying? But you live and you go through life. You learn. So at the end, so when you come to the end of that chapter, and that's the end, then of course you move forward. But at that present moment, when I'm in love at that present moment with who I'm in love with, then yes, it has to be a respect there, because that's who I'm in love with. Now, when I had begun to fall out of love, because that does happen with certain circumstances and situations, then you lose the respect, because it goes hand in hand. You see what I'm saying? The respect goes eventually.
I got
I
you.
mean, to me.
But sometimes the respect can go. It don't have to necessarily go at the same time. Sometimes the respect
Right.
can go before
No.
the love. That means
Right.
it can't be separate then.
Well, I mean, the respect go for me. It does go because you find yourself not caring like how you was caring in the beginning, not
But you still
being.
love though. You still love the person though, right?
But you're not in love. It's a difference for me.
Okay.
I mean, I don't like you not in love. Yeah, I love, like, for example, I love my husband, but I'm not in love. I'm not into a place where I can say, hey, we are going to be together for forever. Because see, my respect is gone there because of choices and situations and things that has happened. But do I love him? Yes, love him in the way of, like, I don't want anything to happen to you. I don't want anything to hurt you per se, but to be in love with you, like we're gonna be together, no.
So you know what's crazy? Like when as I hear you keep like you explain it, I keep saying, "Yo, we got our terms backwards."
Okay.
I've been in love. I've been
Mhm.
in love way more than I loved someone, because in love, literally again, is the development of deep romantic or sexual attachment. I've been in love plenty of times. But that doesn't mean I really love you. See, the love, when you love someone, is when you start forecasting future and all these other stuff. But I know people keep saying in love is greater. No. In love is the infatuation, the instant stuff that you get in the beginning. The love part is the forever piece that people speak to. Just by definition. I'm only embracing by definition. Because in love, like I keep saying, it speaks to the sex and romance. So people find themselves in love way more than they really have love. You know what I'm saying? But I know people always say I'm kind of opposite. They always be like, well, I love you, but I ain't in love. But it's like in love was actually more shallower than love itself.
Yeah. So I think another thing too is maybe this because you say you into the church a lot, right, Carissa?
Mm-hmm.
I noticed you're tying in love or love, however you want to use it, you're tying it to a forever thing. But there's a lot of people in love or love that necessarily don't tie it to forever or don't even believe they should be married. You don't necessarily have to tie those things together. I mean, but if that's what you typically do, I don't know. But that could definitely exist. You could be in love with somebody and not even want to be married to them.
Yeah, I agree. Izzy, what you think?
Using Kevin's terminology, yes. I get it now. Going off of what Kevin says.
Izzy, what you think, man? Can Can you really love someone and there ain't no respect there? That's the question. We still do
Mhm.
I so I think that you it's kind of hard because I understand like both spectrums of it. Ideally, I think you would want someone to like love and respect you, but I think it's definitely possible to like love someone without the respect being there. I think like, as you continue to grow and like show more of your character and your character flaws, some of those people, like the people that you are with, might deem that as like disrespectful or spiteful even, but it's just like something that they discovered of who you are. It's part of your being. So I think it's definitely possible to like love someone, um or be in love with someone without the respect being there.
So yeah, so to the question, I totally agree. I believe that you can definitely be in love with someone and then there's not a level of respect there. I think though that is a difficult position because especially from speaking from like a man's point of view, like if I ain't got no respect for you, it's typically fuck you to a degree. You get what I'm saying? So it's very hard for me to hear be like, yo, I mean, I'm super like I'm in love with you, but then there's just no respect. Like, but I do get it. I mean, we just going off of what things are. Yes, you can be in love, but I'm not. If I don't have that respect for you, then I'm not going to even deal with you. So I guess it's that whole concept of then just loving you from afar. Because if I ain't got no respect for you, I mean, I don't really see personally why I would even address or talk to you a certain way. Because I mean, I ain't got no respect for you, and I know a lot of men like that. Like, yo, man, ain't got no respect for you. Hey, man, he ain't trying to deal with you at all. So I definitely agree with that. All right, y'all. Let's keep diving deep into this thing. So, if you cheat, I know we talk about cheating, boy, the thing get touchy. If you cheat, is that a direct question to the love of the individual for you? What y'all think? If you cheat, is that a direct question to their love for you? Oh man, Izzy, I'm gonna start with you on this one. Let's go.
Um uh okay, so I think for men, no, but for women, yes. I think sometimes with like men, I just feel like, they cheat to like, I guess like, you know, explore different sides of their personality or, just like have a different scene or I don't know. I think it's a little bit more shallow than when a woman cheats because, I feel like if a woman cheats, it's more so emotional. I can only speak for myself in that sense. And after that, I feel like, if it's emotional, then it's like my love for you is questionable at that point, truly, if I'm cheating on you. Like, there had to been some type of like, there had to have been some type of situation that I had to look at my life with that individual that I'm with and be like, okay, so this is clearly not working out. So I don't know, to be selfish, if I was to cheat, I'd probably would fall out of love and just to stay in the relationship or stay in like the comfort or stay in like I guess the tutelage of that individual. I'll just explore a side of my emotions and like a side of my personality. But I think it's a little bit more deeper, and there's no real love in that relationship if the woman's cheating rather than the man. That's my
Okay.
answer to that, but yeah.
Okay. Matt, what you think, man? Yo, if there's cheating here, you think there's a question of the love?
Well, you was asking it personal, right? Or in general? You was asking the personal this time, right? You said
Nah,
for
I
you at
mean that's
first.
in general.
In general? Oh, okay. In general, I would say, Say that question one more time. I got caught up in re-asking the question. My fault.
If there is cheating going on, is it a question of if the person loves you in general?
I think it's a question. Yeah, I don't necessarily think that it can, you can say it's a fact in every situation, but I definitely think it could be a question. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Based upon perspective, yes.
Yeah, based on my perspective, they can definitely question it. But also, so I speak a little bit to me personally as well. Me personally, could I see it happen? Yeah, likely, probably not, because typically when I love a female, I show that by being committed, by the actions I do. Now, I don't think those things tie together, but I do show it in that way. And a lot of people, because certain people show it in that way, they tie those two things together. But I do think they're separate. They're definitely separate. But I do agree that my love is attached to my actions, and one of my actions would be respecting her, being faithful, being committed to what I agreed I was going to do. But everybody don't move like that, so I definitely think it can be separate. For me, I tie it together.
Okay, Rissa, what you think, man? You think that if there's cheating, is it a question for the love?
I agree with everything that was said. I mean, love is the act. No, seriously, love is the action word. So, I mean, if it may be questionable, it just will.
Okay,
it could be.
So I understand what Matt said when we're talking perspective, because people got different ways of doing certain things, and that's why it is a thing of where you can question it. But I think that the action of cheating is not a question of the love that someone has for you, because first of all, I'm a man and I understand that men could sleep with a woman and there is nothing that's tied from it. It's not even a question, and it has nothing to do with the woman that they're with at all. So I know like just like seeing, hearing, and even walking the path, like it's not a question of if you love the person just because you cheated. Because men don't cheat. So I kind of get what Izzy's saying, because love is an emotion and women typically build off of emotion. I understand why Izzy took her approach to saying it would be more so coming that way for women. But for men, it's not an emotional thing. Men don't cheat emotionally. I mean, there are men who do it, but a lot of men don't cheat emotionally. So it's very hard for me to tie the emotion to something that someone's not doing where there's not an application of emotion at all. So I personally don't believe that that's one of those things. I don't think it's really a question of do you love. Now, people love saying that love is an action word. Love is expressed through action. But love itself is the emotion. I don't think the action or direct, like I keep saying, people show love in different ways. So just because there is an act, I don't think that questions then the emotion that comes from it. That's just me personally. But I can understand, like how Matt said, the aspect of people challenging. I can understand why women would take that more as a direct question of love, because everything is built around the emotion. So of course, if it's built around the emotion, you would challenge the emotion. But to be on the other side of knowing that ain't no emotion involved, how can I then challenge my emotion when there was no emotion involved in the cheating at all? So I get it. I get why it could be. But I think people sometimes, like I said, I think everything is about communication. I think sometimes you got to have these conversations. So even if there was a situation of cheating, I think you do have to understand. And I don't even think even when women, I think a lot of women, it's not a question of their love as well, too, because you have certain people who simply have desires of things within certain moments, right? Some women might be going through an episode of where they need someone to be able to talk to and listen to them. And that person could have showed up at the right time when their spouse wasn't available. And because they had that, they fell within that infatuation stage, which is love as well. They fell into that stage and then it was committed, but that didn't mean that they didn't love the other side by committing an act, though. So, I mean, that's just.
And I got a quick thing I want to add to that, and then I got a quick question for the panel, if you don't mind.
Go ahead, do your thing, bro.
All right, no problem. So the first thing I want to say is people a lot of times often say when females cheat, it's the emotion thing. There is no love there. And I agree if we're talking about, most of the time. But I do think because you have weak people, I do think you have females that have a weakness, or dudes or whatever, that have a weakness for sex, and they can actually be seduced and still have love for that guy. They just may have a weakness in that area. And some people just have weaknesses too, where no matter who comes along, they can have sex with that female. She may be a sex addict, a sex freak. So I do think there are some females that can have sex and not have no emotion for that person at all, just have a weakness for that, and still love their significant other. So I think a lot of times people, they say that, and I don't necessarily agree with that all the time. Now the other thing, the statement I want to make, I want to post this to the panel. You can answer it first, KG, and you can kick it off to somebody else. I would say, do you have to respect somebody in totality to have respect for that person? Because most of the time I find in situations where people respect certain things about a person, but then they don't respect certain things about a person. So I want to ask y'all, if you date somebody and there's certain things you respect about them, but there's certain things you can't respect about them, can you still have? Because a lot of people tie that when they speak of respect for your significant other. Most people, when they talk about that, it's like when they speak of respect, they speak of in a totality type thing. So I mean, how do we feel about that?
I mean, I feel like it's kind of hard to respect literally anyone in a total type of way. Like, if you're thinking about it, like, even if your parents, they brought you to this world, do you like respect literally every single thing that they do or believe in? Probably not. So, I think it's like kind of like, so for someone to like, just, for someone you meet that you don't really have like, a blood relation to, it's like, it's hard to say that you can respect them in a total type of way.
Carissa, you got something on his question before I jump in?
No, I agree with what Izzy said. I mean, it's hard to
so yeah, I definitely think I think whenever people start using words like totality, we get confused.
Exactly.
Like there's no because respect comes in many facets, and be honest, respect is subjective too. Like I always say, dog, if we layman terms, respect and disrespect, it literally just likes and dislikes. Like what you typically like, you typically got respect for. What you don't like, you typically feel is disrespectful. You don't like it. You don't have respect for it. So it's very subjective when we talk about respect. You know what I'm saying? So
I agree, but I'm sure you've seen in relationship dynamics when people talk, maybe they just speaking and not thinking about it, but when they speak of their significant other not respecting them, they make it seem like you have to respect them. They speak of it in a totality type way, like everything has to be respected about what you do. No, this guy can despise something about you in particular, but love other factors about you, and vice versa. But people typically in relationships, they typically make it say we respect that you have to take the whole entire thing.
Nah, I can understand that, and there's respect to that, but I don't build within someone else's reality. I deal with the actuality. So
yeah, that's all
I can understand and respect somebody got a perspective. You want to view something a certain way, but I deal with what things actually are. That's why I say I don't build on associative factors. Like I can respect that you have a reality to a situation, but I'm not about to build a case off of your reality because it is your reality, and there is an actual side to things as well. That's why I'm a literal speaker. I deal with the actuality of things. We can all view things in perspectives and have introspectives and all these other different things, but there's always an actual attribute to things too. And I personally don't like to waste too much time building into someone's perspective of it. I just address what it is. So
I agree.
I say it like this too. You tell me how you feel. I'll just address what it is. I'm not gonna argue with your feelings because everybody's feelings is legitimate. You are entitled to feel however you want to feel about anything. So I would never argue a person's feelings, but I will stand on what something actually is because your feelings does not waver the actuality, but it does waver your reality.
And I agree. I
haven't checked it out. Please check out that episode of Actuality versus Reality because we definitely dived into this concept already.
And we also see the views going up and people having opinions. Hey, make sure y'all hit that like and comment button as well too. Definitely at least the like button. I know a lot of people probably forgetting, but we're trying to do something here, so let's get to it.
Yeah, man, come on, man.
Shameless.
Don't play. Most definitely. So I saw, my vocal visions brother had threw something up there, and he asked the question, and I know where the question came from. It says, "Why cheat when you in love?" I'm gonna put it up on the screen so people can see it. It said, "Why would you cheat on someone when you in love?" I think Matt, you did a good job going into that concept of people cheat for many different reasons. And just because you're in love with somebody, just like how Matt said, you could have a weakness for sex and find yourself within this. And I remember, Matt, I don't know if you remember, because we do these type of things right here where I have events at my house and we invite people over and we discuss conversations and things like that nature too. And I remember when this question came up, I literally dived into it from a psychological way. And I was the only person on the side. Everybody else was against this concept. And I kept telling people that psychologically, this is possible. I know it's hard for us to understand it because we're arguing an emotion. Love is an emotion. I know people love to say action, action, action. Love is expressed through action. But love is an emotion, people. So when we dive into these concepts, and we talk about it, and I addressed it, like I said, from a psychological realm, that typically you can have all of that same adoration and adornment for the person and individual that you are with. But your subconscious can overrule your actual consciousness at times. So what is directly in front of you can't overpower your overall vision or thought of something. We have to understand this. It's really not arguable because it's a psychological fact. So that's why I always tell people you must be very, very cautious of what one continues to put within their subconsciousness, because you can't overrule it. Because I think when we had the conversation, we were talking about how the hell could someone slip up? And I was like, it's very easy to slip up.
I think we use the word accident, but same thing, yeah.
I mean, it's the same thing. An accident would be a slip up.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's definitely possible. That's why I keep saying I don't think it's a direct channel to love, because that's just an emotion. But I know that people got different philosophies of how they come out and how they combat the word. That's why I presented the first question as what is love, to better understand why people take the angles in which that they go. Most people, if you ever feel irritated about when I say something, just understand I deal with things in a literal fashion. I don't play games with words. I deal with what it actually is. But I do know most people live off of social factors, not what things are. And I think it's very hard, but if you play associative, you playing off reality. And like I said, I don't build off your reality to understand what it actually is. So that's just my take. You know what I'm saying? That's how I get.
And I was gonna respond to the what you put up there for your brother Kevin as well, kind of the same way you responded. Just you did a little better articulation of it, going deeper. But I was definitely gonna say like in my personal experience, remember I weigh the factors of me cheating, because every time you cheat, you risk the chance of hurting the person that you say you love. You risk the chance of embarrassing the person you say you love. But everybody don't think that deep into things. Some people, like how you say, they just make mistakes. But I actually don't put myself in that position, because I feel like if I love somebody, I don't want to see them get embarrassed. I don't want to see people laughing behind their back, even if they don't know it. That girl that you're sleeping with, she's laughing at your woman. She's seeing her that I'm screwing her man. So I tie that together when I deal with a female, but those definitely are separate. And some people, they don't even think that far into events. Things sometimes just happen. I do believe things sometimes can just happen.
I agree. Ladies, what y'all think about that? What y'all think about what we just said? Don't let us cap them. It can happen. Just saying, we're speaking possibilities.
Cheating is just a subject. It's just a touchy one. Period. Like, I mean, I agree with what you said. You know, about Kevin, about it being, you know, about, you know, well, I agree with both of y'all when y'all say that there could be a lot of different reasons why you may go that route, other than you just, you know, doing it. There are people who do have addictions and stuff like that, you know, but there's a lot of many different reasons why people go that direction. But just like what you said, communication on the cheating subject, period, just needs to happen from the beginning. You know. So
And people got to understand too, like the concept of when we talk cheating, you got to realize the idea of fidelity is law. That's a law that's being laid down amongst your relationship. So, oh man, I'm gonna do a show specifically on this cheating. It's a lot of ways I can approach this. I love when it comes together like this. Like my man from the A team said, I love when the plan come together. I'm gonna do a show about that. Because there's a lot of factors, and I don't want to wait for too many of our points just diving into cheating itself. But there's a lot of factors that come into this. So I want to do a particular show itself about cheating and the cheater's mindset and all. Oh yeah. We gonna build. We gonna do that. Quick pop-up question. Do y'all think that in situations that our love for our children kind of keeps us in a lot of these relationships?
yes,
Like our love for the children.
yes.
And I love that motherfucker no more. But I love our children. Keep us in it. What y'all think about that? Rissa, I see you responding. What you think about that? Do I love our children?
Me and you both know how that goes. Well, I mean, listen, I'm your sister, so we already know, like, that is just something that we both have probably, experienced, with our parents and everything. You just stick stuff out just because you want to just do it for your kids. But I think like that's BS personally, because at the end of the day, why suffer? Because the kids get older. they don't care. I mean, not to say that they don't care, but it's kind of like they get to a place where it's like you're basically living a lie, and I don't want to do that. I can never do that. I think honesty is the best route, even when it comes to the children. Yeah. So
and I would say real quick, right? Like before I go to everybody else, like me and Matt, big fan of like paternity court and divorce court and stuff like that. Like we dive and stuff like that. One of the things that I always hear when you hear to children speak, because I know we're addressing this from the parents' perspective, but one of the things I always hear when I hear the children speak on stuff like this, like, yes, they care. Like the idea of the nuclear family, yes, they care. But when you got kids who really, really care about their parents' happiness, because I've heard a lot of people in their older age speak on this, they don't like to see you doing that suffering either now. Them kids don't like to see their father being involved when they know their mother is not moving a certain way. They don't like to see their mother suffering when they see their father not moving a certain way neither. So I know we typically address this from the parents' point of view, but we do got to understand that if you ever get a time to look or talk to children who've experienced this, they don't want to see their parents just stick something out for that neither. Like that idea of just staying together for me is stupid to a lot of the children though. Now, young kids don't understand it. I'm talking about once people have grown to have the understanding, most people actually don't actually want that to happen.
Especially, it's damaging either way, but it's really damaging from what I'm seeing from the kids that they've seen the life when things were good and they've seen the transition. Because some kids get born into it where they never saw the transition and they may look at it as, it's normal. But some kids, when they saw the happiness time, they saw we going out camping, picnics. And then they saw that transition to now it's being bad. Now I'm seeing the different movement. They really get affected by it because they have something to compare it to.
Right.
So Matt, go ahead and answer the question since you're speaking. You think a lot of people I love our children is what keep us in these situations a lot sometimes? Most of the time?
Oh, most definitely. 100%. I think people starting to get away from that, but I still think that's very relevant. That's still something that happens all the time, especially with the first kid. Maybe after people they done left their first baby mom or their first husband, they typically get used to this is what they typically come to acceptance, like how you speak of acceptance. But that first child you have for a lot of persons, that's the hardest one.
Most
definitely.
definitely.
You still have that, and it go by with something else me and you always speak of, and me and Caprice have a lot of talks about this, where we speak on people having that fairy tale Disney ending. That goes because that's really the first time that's shattered. Where you have to split up the family because that's that first time that's shattered. And it makes you reevaluate everything. And then typically after that, some people still end up going through it later on in life, but that first one is always the hardest. That's why we always make the thing too. That first baby daddy, a lot of times he can always come back. A lot of times they always got some access to that woman, that first one. A lot of time, not all the time, of course, but that's pretty much what I want to say about it.
Izzy, what you think about that? Do you think our love for our children kind of can keep us in a trap sometimes? Sometimes we stay only because of the kids. What you think about this?
I think it's either 50-50. Like, I think sometimes, like, yes, like, I guess parents that are, like, really trying to stick it out for their kids, they do exist. But I think on the other half, like, a lot of the times, it could be just like, they're using that as an excuse for, their attachment issues, or like, I guess like making like the dysfunctional function work, because this would mean that you would have to literally like start over again. And a lot of parents, they've grown, used to like the chaos, of everything. And even when the kids are like grown up, I hear a lot of parents say, "Oh, we're staying together for the kids." Well, the kids we're not kids anymore. Like, we're not even in the house, So at that point, like, what are you basing this off of? And I think
it just happened now.
Right, it's habit now. You're used to it. You're used to, you're used to like the environment. You're used to like the bitching and moaning. You're used to like someone like leaving the light. You're just used to like all like, the dramatics that annoyed you at first, but you've grown used to it even after the kids. And now, you're older. You can't see yourself, being like, in the dating market, maybe because you like, because you used all your money or all your assets towards your family. So now you feel like a depleted individual. So it's like, at that point, it's like, well, I might as well just get used to the dysfunction. I don't have kids, so I can't really say that, I can't really say it based off of like what I felt through, but this is just like, me like working with different families and seeing like, their I guess examples.
And you made a great point, Izzy. I love that point you made about people being used to, the pain and everything, because that kind of hits back what I was. That's a great way to sum it up, because that kind of also hit back on the few points we made today, like when I said about the not respecting the person but having love for a person too. So sometimes you may not respect it, but you also can grow used to that life that you built with that person. And even if you don't respect them, you still wouldn't leave, because when you leave somebody, that is a lot, your life pattern shifts. So a lot of people do get scared of that as well. Even though they may not love the person, they don't want their life to shift. So
yeah, it's way harder to start over than to just deal with like the shit that you've been dealing with.
And if we're keeping it real, I think that's the confusing mentality, that when people love to have these conversations about like how older people do it versus younger people do it. I think there's a lot of older people in relationships that they've been fell out of love with their partner. But because it's been so much time and habit that's been developed, they don't walk away because of the habit, and because they know they're too damn old to be talking about they getting out here and restarting. So a lot of times when people be challenging, oh, they just battle, they just work it out. No, that nigga just lazy and afraid. That's all it is.
Exactly.
I don't think that's a better thing. I think they just lazy and afraid to restart. But I have met people who've gotten remarried at 50. So I mean, like, I think you do yourself a disservice to stick around because of habit.
Right.
And you don't really rock with that person. There's a lot of people, they don't sleep in the room together, same bed together. They just with each other because of the habit, and they just keep up a face and tradition in front of the children and all that other stuff like that. But a lot of people, they ain't rocking with each other, they together. Yeah. And it's just built off habit. Go ahead, Matt.
And that also goes into, like, just speaking to a lot of women lately, and when I was watching the KS show a lot of times too, when you hear a lot of women speak, that's also playing a role why a lot of women don't want to get married at all, because it does come with a stigma if it don't work out. And that's what a lot of people are afraid of too. So a lot of women, it's not that I don't love this person, or it's not like they don't want to be married. They don't want to get married and know it's the chance of it may fail. And especially with 80% of women filing for divorces, it is a stigma where they look at the women as, why couldn't you make it work? They look at the guy like, your leadership is in question. So that also plays a factor.
Yeah, it's on both sides. It's on both sides.
Yeah, it's on both sides.
Because they look at the man to lead it, but then they look at woman as the glue to hold it together. So they look at it as both of y'all just failed.
Exactly.
True.
So you got
That's
you got
true.
people not wanting to get divorced for that, and then you got people now not wanting to be married at all because they know it's the chance it may not work out. And you got to think too. If you had a big marriage and you invite all these people there, y'all celebrating, you got to now tell the people they look at you know
Yeah, I
Right.
get you. Imagine if you had a wedding, you had damn near 130 people show up.
Come on.
Imagine now
everybody,
having to send that message saying we getting a divorce.
Divorce.
and that was crazy. And that was crazy. What's crazy is most of the time, what's crazy is a lot of times, especially as the man, I don't know how it is for a female, you may be okay with the divorce, but you know what keeps it relevant? Every time somebody see you, I'm sorry about that, man. You don't tell me, I don't even want to think about that shit. They come and hugging you, man. Man, I'm sorry, what happened to you, bro? And it actually make it seem
because everybody making it seem like you so hurt and damaged, not even realizing that y'all been going through y'all discourse so long. Both of y'all, and this was funny. A lot of times, both of y'all already know it's over.
Right.
Yeah.
And you just sticking around, so people they'll think you might be hurt, but it's like really you ain't even damaged. Like you could have said, "Yo, this been 10 years," but y'all both knew this shit was over at year 6.
Come on.
And y'all spent the last 4 years, y'all know this shit was over. But for whatever reasons, y'all just kept it going. But you knew it was over.
Exactly.
And just to add on to that, as y'all were talking, one part that wasn't mentioned is a lot of times, a lot of people stay together because of finances. Like, I don't want to do these bills by myself. I can't do these bills by myself. Like we've been going half and half, or better yet, you've been paying all the bills. I'm able to keep my money in my pocket, and so now to leave you means I got to do this by myself. So a lot of times people stick around, right? So a lot of times they don't walk away because of that. They choose to suffer and stay together because they don't want to know what it feels like to actually take the leap of faith and see what to see if things would possibly be different if you stepped out of it. But for me, I can't suffer. So
and another thing is too, people leave marriages, and a lot of times people don't become happier a lot of times as well. It's not necessarily saying you're going to get better, because a lot of times, especially if you got together at an early age, you're tailor-made for each other a lot of times. You know, y'all two done built each other where y'all only can work with somebody that's similar to the person you've been with. Especially them girls that got in a relationship at 18, 19, 20, and they've been with them 10, 12 years. They can only deal with a guy like that now. That guy can only deal with a guy like that.
I beg to differ that because I was going to say, because I've been married. I would have been married for
a lot of times.
Right. I was about to say, because I would have been married for like 15 years. And when I met my husband, we met in high school, but I didn't get married till I was 20. And now I'm coming out of it. I don't want nothing like that. Like nothing. I don't want when I tell you nothing. I want a brand new experience. But I guess it all depends on like who it is.
But the want isn't what I'm challenging, because a lot of times you could want something and then when you actually get it, don't even like it.
Well, I need something different.
Because it's a perspective. You can't fully say it's inaccurate for you because you haven't went through the whole process yet either. So until you get out there, get on the process, then we can say, okay, is it accurate or not? You know.
Well, I'm telling you, I need something different.
And when I say somebody like that's tailor-made for them, it may be certain factors about the person that you may want to change, but a lot of times they end up with somebody that's very similar. They try to eliminate those habits that they can't live with. But
I can't.
I get it. All right, y'all, we moving on. I got just a few more. Not ain't too many more. This is a good one, man. I had a good conversation around this one, man. Can you love 2 people at the same time, or multiple people? I mean, numbers can go higher, but I just deal with 2. Can you love 2 people at the same time? And this is more general than it is personal. You can give your personal outlook as well, but this is more general perspective. Like, can a person love two people at the same time? Oh man, let's see what we got. Ritza, I'll start with you. What you think?
No,
What you think, man?
Oh, my goodness, man. Listen, I'm going to be honest. Like, as we begin to talk and you break down the definition that you're giving, because you keep things literal, it's going against what
nature.
it's not. Yes, there you go.
Going against nature.
You ask that, so when you ask that question, for me, it's because when you say like being in love, that's like the sexual, type of attachment, right? But when you talk about love, that's an emotion, right? So if you're speaking in that sense, could you be emotionally, drawn to two different people? Then yes, if that's how you're putting it, because but if I'm thinking about me, like how I would answer that question prior, before we started having this discussion, because now I got a different outlook, which is a good thing.
Yeah, good. Do you think?
Right. I would, for me, it would have been like, well, no, it someone has to be, it has to be a stronger attachment to one person, right? But if we're talking about how you broke it down, literally, then I would have to say it's possible.
Izzy, what you think, Izzy? Can you love two same time? Can a woman love two men? Can a man love two women? What you think, Izzy? Talk to me.
See, Chris literally just said she literally just said what I was gonna say, honestly. By the definition that you gave originally, I guess. But I mean, like, for the definition that I gave you, there's definitely, there's someone that you have. There's no way you can love someone like equally based off the definition that I feel like love is. Right. Truly, like, there's just no way. There has to be like some gives and takes, and honestly, like at that point, like, I feel like, if you were to love two people at the same time, I think one would be more of the definition that you gave. It would be like a sexual like attraction, and then like the other person would be like more the definition that I gave, which would be like love, like patience, unconditional, and things of that nature. So there's just like levels to it, truly. Simultaneously, equally, no, I feel like. But by the definition that you gave, yeah, of course, sure.
Okay.
People love using this unconditional word. That shit is crazy.
I was gonna bring up that challenge of unconditional, but I was gonna wait towards the end to do it, because I every time I hear people say that, I just think it's weird when people say unconditional. Like, that just sounds stupid to me. My love comes with conditions. This is crazy to me.
There's two versions of love, and I said true love is through children. True love is through children. True love is through children. That's what I had said originally.
Hey. But even with that, because I remember on the show before, I said that even with my children, my love comes with conditions. Like, unconditional means that we're gonna walk. Okay. Let me break it down. For those. I get what people are trying to say. So, say we use the children reference, right? It's not a situation of like, yes, because I personally believe that if you actually ever really love somebody, you will always have that love for them. I don't believe that it ever really strays. This is me personally now. People can believe something different, but I personally do believe that it'll never really, really stray. So even when we speak on the realm, because I have kids, I have a few baby mothers. If I've ever loved I still love as far as the extension of what that love is. Now, when we start getting into my ways of operation, I think there's a shift amongst what we're doing. So even when we talk about our children, I can still love my children, but it can become a distant love because I cannot be a part of the way that you choose to operate and the way you choose to maneuver through life. So I think we look at a lot of times when we challenge it as acceptance as well. And no, because love is the emotion. Yeah, I will always have that emotional love for you because you're mine. But that don't mean that I run the acceptance of it. I think when people talk about conditions, we speak more to acceptance. Because I can love you, but it's a lot of motherfucking shit I ain't going to accept. And that's with anybody. Because that's literally what unconditional means. We get into our acceptance of behaviors and attributes and all these other things. Because remember, everybody keeps saying that love is an action word. And the things that people are doing. So if we address it as what people are doing, then that means you can start doing some things that I still have the emotional love for you, but I'm gonna have to wrench your ass up. Children, spouse, friends, etc.
So if they were to do something that you just deemed unacceptable, you wouldn't love them anymore.
No, you would still have the emotion of it, but the actions would shift. Is what I say. Yeah, because love is just an emotion. See, I understand how people take this, but people who believe love is just within the action, I get why it's confusing for people who think like that. Because you think that now you have to walk with the actual works of it. That's why I was like, no, I can still love you and you doing crazy stuff, but the operations would start to shift. That's why I said I think when people talk about unconditional, we start getting within the realms of acceptance. You get what I'm saying? Like,
no, I hear you.
I'm not about to accept a lot of shit just because I love you. Like, nah, I'm gonna cut my kids off to a certain extent too. You start getting crazy out here. Watch how quick I push your ass to the side. I got a team. I ain't about to be putting over no foolishness because there's a team here. And I walk with honor. And I believe once you start becoming dishonorable, because I believe we represent each other. See, I always say this, right? I believe we walk with this Hayward name. This is my last name, if y'all didn't know. This Hayward name. I believe we walk with this as a honor. See, and remember, I come from martial arts and traditional, so I walk with the mind of a lot of Buddhists too. So I walk with that honorable mentality that when you get in this realm and you start being dishonorable to the family, we hold no honor to those who choose to be dishonorable. So if you walk dishonorably, you get cut off because we still walk with a level of honor. So I would still love you, yes, but you getting cut off because we walk with honor. This is how I view it. So if you out here showing and getting all crazy and doing all whatever you into, and it does not represent us, I'm disclaiming you. They're gonna be like, okay, your son such and such, and now they're gonna be like, yo, now I know I got two sons. They're gonna be talking. I'm gonna be like, yo, I only got one son. They're like, nah, but you got two. I only got one son. One honorable mention and one nigga, until he turned around, I don't know that nigga like that. But I still love him though. But I put the honor first. Now, some people might think that's a little too harsh, but I put that honor first. There is no honor for those who are dishonorable. That's like that situation that Will Smith had. You try to be honorable for a woman who's so dishonorable. How do you show honor for someone who's blatantly dishonored this family over and over and over again? Such disrespect. I would walk so respectful for one who has so much disrespect. Some people do it. I don't knock cats who do it. I'm just telling you the realm that I walk. That if you walk a dishonorable path, we will have to disown you. That's all I'm in. But I mean, if you walk it, then you walk it. I'm just letting you know how I rock. But yes, I can still love you. The love doesn't go away. I love you. But take your ass across the street from me. Don't come back over here. Change ways or you stay the fuck over there. Because I respect your operation, but I don't mean I have to accept you doing it over here. And that's usually where conditions, when people talk conditions, we start battling acceptance. So that's all that is, Miss Easy.
Thank you for explaining.
Did everybody answer this question? No, Matt, you ain't answered the question, right?
Yeah, I ain't answer. I was letting you do your thing.
Go ahead. So can you love two people at the same time?
Yeah, most definitely. You definitely can love two people at the same time. That's the easy one. You can love the same way you can love two family members. You can love two kids. You can love two people. You know, the difference is I think when people hear love because they attach those actions to it, they think no. You know what I'm saying? But you can have just because you love somebody else don't mean you're doing everything for that person that you're doing for your wife or your significant other. Now you can be, but I think two people get confused because they tie all these things up together that's not dealing with love. You know, and that's why a lot of times too, when females get cheated on or something happens, they get confused. They tie all these other things into it and speculate where all these other things don't have nothing to even do with the action of cheating. But yeah, I think you definitely can love because love is just the emotion. And I've actually heard a guy, seen a situation where somebody was married and they was in love with another person and didn't even mess with the other person. Then maybe 15, 20 years down the line, they got a divorce and then they end up going back and not messing with the other person. But people will automatically assume that they always was cheating, and that ain't necessarily the case. You could have always loved that person, but still have respect for your actual wife to not do anything, but that mutual platonic relationship was always there. And then when it don't work, you actually not get with that person, because it's not tied together. Now some people do tie it together, but it's not tied together.
So yeah, so most definitely, I think that I always say when we talk about love, love is a filler word. So when I say filler word, that we always say love when we trying to explain a whole bunch of different other stuff, but we just say love. Like people be talking about, people will be talking about loyalty, but then they'll keep saying love. People will speak on fidelity, but then they be talking about love. Like there's so many other things that people dive into when having conversations with people about love. They will fill that space with saying love, but they're literally talking about something separate. So I agree with what Matt was saying. I definitely believe you can love two people at the same time. And I always wonder, like people keep saying equal. Why what does equal got to do with love itself? You can love woman A or man A for a totally different reason than what you love woman B or man B. What does equality have to do with love? You can love them both. It don't have to be the same. I don't understand why people make it seem like if I love you, I gotta love you exactly the same way like I love them. That's what the Greeks talk about when they speak about the 4 different types of love, and then you hear the Romans implemented it within the Bible, and they talk about those 4 implements of love, because I know where it comes from, when they talk about the types of love. You know what I'm saying? You can have these things, and they just be different types. Because we're just speaking of it in itself, the loving of it. Now people love to say you can love, but then you can't be in love. That's a lie. Because in love literally speaks to the romance and the sexual attraction. So you can even be in love with 2 people at the same time. And love, you can do that as well, because there are plenty of people who have taken care of this family and both families the exact same way. People do it. Be like, yo, that man got this family and got a whole other family 2 blocks away. And he take care of them to the same degree. There's a lot of people, and actually, when I was posing questions, I was talking to a lot of older people, and most people were chiming in there, yeah, you could do it. And it was funny because most of the people who were saying it, as they were saying it, they literally were saying, yeah, you could do it, and I've done it. And I thought that was funny. Because I was like, as everybody kept saying it to me, they was like, yeah, you can do it, and I've done this. So I'm like, yo, clearly it can be possible.
Yeah, but okay, so speaking to like what you just said about like, the loving of like, you don't understand how people like think like, love has to be equal to be in like love with both people. So, that rhymed. But so like, I just feel like, okay, so I think you're speaking on the man's perspective. Let's say, okay, so on the woman's perspective, a woman found out that you were in love with 2 people at the same time. Not talking about children or like parents or anything, because that's definitely possible. But I'm talking specifically about a relationship. If the woman that you were with found out that you were in love with someone else, even like on a different scale or like higher scale, like, you know, even if they were okay with it, eventually that would draw a wedge in the relationship on her behalf. Like, no one wants to know that they are like that's on the lesser scale of love, you know.
So I always say this, that when we're talking about being able to manage a situation, it's not the same thing as we're talking about being in love in the situation. So, and this goes for both. It ain't really more so to men, it's for women as well. That you can still love both people. Now, will they agree to a situation of polygamy? No. But just because they disagree, don't take the thing away from that individual still loving them both, man or woman.
But let's say, like, you know, like they were in a polygamy,
because we're talking about your emotions now. For people.
right? So let's say if, like, you know, they were in like the polygamous relationship, like if that was the case, and like, you know, like, it was an agreement and like they're aware of each other, but it's known that, like, you know, one person is loved a little bit more than the other, you don't think that would cause like complications and cause especially the woman to fall out of love and fall into a different situation?
Yeah, but I'm not challenging the reception of love. I'm talking about the individual who is actually loving them both. I'm not talking about you loving them both and we're worrying about the reception of it though. I'm talking about the individual who is in love with both. Like, you can love two men, and of course, them men might not agree, but them not agreeing doesn't take away or eliminate the fact that you still love two men. So that's why I'm saying, if we're talking about managing the situation, that would be very difficult because we move within this monogamy. So that would be very difficult, but that does not play to the actual act of you still loving them both. Is what I'm saying.
And you just got to the point I was gonna make as well too. I think when you speak of the viewers of it, Izzy, you also speaking from a Western culture standpoint, because most of the people that's in a polygamous relationship that's from another country, they're not even in love with the emotion. They're in love to what the person can do. So it makes more sense for a person to have 2-3 wives because they're married. Their love is actually for the family legacy, you know, what you can do for us and how you build this family up and the responsibility. I think it would be hard the way you looking at it because we actually go into relationships more off of an emotional standpoint of just feelings.
And that's why when we talk this idea of monogamy, that's why when you ask about people, most people feel triggered because we've been so brought up within the construction of this loving one person that we think that there's something odd to love more than one. But if you really want to deal with the honesty of it, I always say this. The same way you could love, like a person can love and get remarried more than one time, you can fall in love with more than one person. So the same way, because you can fall in love with more than one person, why is it strange to hear someone can do it at the same time? Mm-hmm. Unless you're telling me that if a person fell in love and they can only love that one person their entire life, then this would make sense to me. But it's not true. So if you can fall in love with more than one person, what is so hard about understanding they can do it at the same time? Because all you're talking about is falling in love. If you can do it one and then 2 years later with another person, why would it be hard to do it at the same time? It's crazy. Like, you literally can do it.
But on a side note, I've definitely heard stories about people that fell in love one time and was never ever able to get over that one person their whole entire life.
Oh yeah, I've heard stories of people who live within their remorse. Like, say that person may have passed, or they might have went through a heartbreakup and they never got over it. Yeah. They never was able to catch. Yes, both sides. Even when they got.
Yeah, even some of them situations, they were able to get married again, and the new wife knew that she would never be loved the same way he loved that first person. Like, that was a known thing. And it was like, hey, we want to spend time together and create memories and have fun. But the guy let it be known, you know, ain't nobody gonna ever replace my Stacy.
Oh yeah, I've seen people do that too. I've seen people do that. Yeah. All right, guys, we got two more. I only got 2 more questions for us, y'all. We're gonna wrap this thing up. I know y'all might be a little tired. So this right here is more of a personal question. There's no right or wrong here. I just want to know, man, personally, man. Like, tell me, what are some things that could make you fall out of love? Just personally. Yeah. How can one fall out of love? This is personal. I am, just you. So like I said, ain't nothing. Because if we do general, we'll be all over the place. So just personally, you know what I'm saying? Matt, talk to me. What's some things that'll make you fall out of love, brother?
Cheating, being negligent towards the kids, and gaining a lot of weight. So those are 3 things I would say that I can fall in love with you.
Weight gain? Jeez.
Gain a lot of weight.
That man say, yo, if you get fat, he out.
This is you talk about KJ, it's not just about the image. This is a health thing. You know what I'm saying? I look at this, I love life. This is a healthy thing. This is a family genes. This is a lot tied into this. It's a mentality thing too. A lot of people, not everybody. So I don't want people to get triggered because this might trigger a few people.
Oh, you already triggered.
A lot of people that grow, a lot of times when people grow, like gain a lot of weight later in life, because some people gain it early when they're a kid, they couldn't help that. But a lot of times people gain a lot of weight later in life, it comes from them not being happy with themselves a lot of times. Like they went through a depression, a breakup or something, or some traumatic stuff happened. A lot of times it comes from not being happy with yourself when you gain it later on in life. So
I feel you. Rissa, what you think about that? What do you think about that? Now, people, just you personally. What are some things that can make you fall out of
love? Not being consistent. Just not playing, not just being like not playing your role. Like, for example, if we're in a relationship and you come in saying that you are this person, but then you turn around to not be that person. Eventually, I don't know what. Like, if you can't handle nothing, that'll make me most definitely like fall out of love. The kids, depending on what you do to the kids, that affects me most definitely.
Okay.
It's a lot, but it's mainly for me. It would be the respect thing. It has to be a respect thing. Communication too. That'll turn me away. If we talking about communication, let's say you come in but you don't know how to communicate properly, and we have this conversation on like what it takes, but you still continue to like not be that person, then it's an issue. I'm always open before I hit that place, but it's just the inconsistency for me across the board. That'll make me fall out of love for sure.
Okay. Izzy, what you think, man? What are some of the things that make you fall out of love? What you talk to us?
There's a couple of things, honestly, but some of the main ones is like low confidence and insecurity. And we all have insecurities, right? But like, if a man, I guess, is more insecure, then it's just like, it's kind of like, because they kind of like build like the framework of the relationship. So it's like, an insecure man is just going to make for an insecure relationship and an unstable relationship, and everything you do is going to be, him kind of like holding you back from your full potential and kind of like leveling you out. So you might not be insecure, but now you're like, to make him like feel better, you're holding yourself back from your full potential. And from that, you might be a little bit resentful for that. What else? I guess like, again, like, consistency, if you're not like consistently doing the things like, we did when like we met up, it doesn't have to be the exact same things, but like, on kind of like the same frequency. If you kind of like slow down after you like, you've like gotten me, it's like at that point, it's like a ticking time bomb, it's like there's no growth and just like settling and this relaxing. Like you always have to like, I don't know, there always has to be like a hunger for like growth, a hunger for success, a hunger for something new, so I feel like a consistent pattern of like, excitement, fun, adventure, growth is important. Yeah, that's all I got, folks.
Okay. So yeah, I definitely think, and I think Rissa hit I think all of them on the head. To be honest with you, so I think it comes in three parts with me. I think communication is first. I think that we have to be able. I think communication works with just everything in life. I think we have to be able to communicate, man. I think one of the worst things, like one of the things that took me through my divorce was this whole concept of not being able to communicate. You know what I'm saying? Like being able to communicate with people is critical. Like we have to be able to talk to each other. Like if we can't talk to each other, we might as well walk the hell away right now. Like, there's no point. There's no point if we cannot even communicate with each other. Like it's already a dead end street. So I think communication is number one, and I think consistency comes right behind that. I think being able to keep up, because a lot of times people go into situations where they start things or begin things and then they change. I think that anytime people make shifts or changes into the way that they operate, it becomes I think that's what triggers insecurity. Because if you came in being super affectionate, always communicating, and then all of a sudden now you no longer touch them. Now you no longer communicate. I think that would build insecurity that sometimes they might think either insecurely more about themselves or they would think even more insecurely on your end. But I do think consistency shows a lot within relationships. That when you change that trajectory or these ways of operation, I think that's very critical. And I think these are the signs people need to be looking the fuck out for. Like when you see people change, that day you better realize, because one thing we understand is that people change as well. There are people who could wake up and be like, yo, I want something totally different. So you gotta look for them changes, because sometimes the values that people might have went into this marriage their values have changed within a year or 2 years later. And it's not one of them things that it is that a person is wrong. We just got to understand that it's a part of evolution. People grow. They might not be in the same mentality that they was when you initially talked to them or y'all got married. Now their views, their purpose, and everything else, where they want to go in life is totally different. And that's, it might be heartbreaking, but guess what? That person could tell you, it's not you, it's me. The third one, I think the willingness to be able to succeed. I think that after communication, we have to have the will to want to see certain things through. Like, I think like when people talk trials and tribulations, we have to be willing to build with people. We have to be willing to go through it. And I'm gonna be honest, man. I think it's weird. Like people who haven't gone through nothing, personally, I really don't care to hear the story, because just like with friendships, you don't know what the fuck a person really willing to hold down or they willing to go do for you if you ain't been through nothing. Anybody could sit here and tell you, I'm going to be with you forever. I'm going to have this unconditional love until you fuck up, until you cheat, until your ass lose your job, until something fucking occurs. Anybody could say this, but then when it comes up, you really see the test of how unconditional that goddamn love is. So I think that willingness to really see. So I think that when people dive into that, you don't really know if a person with you until you've been through something. I think that's the real test of if a person really fucking love you or not. I don't think your love have not been tested if you ain't seen nothing. It only until a test comes that you know if you are actually in the position you are acquitted for this situation. Everybody can say, oh, I love you, man. You know, I'm going to hold you down forever. But you never been through nothing. So personally, when I go into a relationship, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm skeptical. I don't know, because I don't walk with that mentality of like, I'm the shit or anybody will fuck with me. A big question to me is, why do you fuck with me? And are you even willing to understand and help me work through my flaws? I don't want you to accept my flaws, because I want you to want me to do better. So now I don't want you to unconditionally love me. Nah, don't accept the flaws, but understand that, yeah, I am flawed, but I'm willing to work on my flaws to become better, because that's all we can do as people. We hear people say it all the time. We're not perfect. So we got to stop acting like we perfect. And a lot of times we get jaded upon relationships that we've been through, that we look at it like, oh, because you might view something a certain way, we got to realize everybody hasn't been raised the same way you've been raised. So your ways of showing your love, they might not understand this because they might not have seen the things you've seen. You might have came from a nuclear family. They come from a single mother household. They don't know what the fuck it look like to be a husband. How would he know what it look like to be a husband when his daddy wasn't even there? How would he know? So sometimes you got to give people grace. You got to allow people and have that willingness to work through these situations. But it starts with communication. We got to
That's
talk.
also.
So if
That's
you,
also.
I'm
My
not
bad.
But
Go ahead.
you have to be able to communicate first. And then when y'all come to these railroads and somebody's saying, yo, I see this right here, and I don't think this right here is, this is where it's at, then you got to be able to talk to it, but you also got to be willing to work it. When people talk about being submissive, we love to throw this line on the side of women. Men need to be fucking submissive too. Marriage is a partnership. It's a fucking partnership. If you want to be independent, you stay by your goddamn self. Coming together with somebody means there's a reliance and there's a dependency upon each other. We exchange our strengths and our weaknesses. We build with each other. If you walking into it thinking you're going to move alone, then nigga, you need to be by your motherfucking self. And that's fine. Because some people aren't built for relationships anyway. They might not know it. And they might get into a lot of them, but they might not know that you ain't built for this. Some people are meant to be single, and it's okay to be single.
Right.
But we have to understand, if you choose to embark upon this journey, especially when we talk about marriage, I think marriage is a very, very sacred covenant. So when you embark upon this, either you're going to be in it or you're going to be out. But if you know you're willing to be out, exit. Don't let that tie you down and you sit there and suffer. I think the idea of somebody telling you to suffer, that's a fucking fool. Why would you tell somebody they got to suffer? Like you can't make a choice to exit. I think that's crazy to me. I think if it's really not working, then you move on. Because I believe that you only got to get it right once. I don't care if I see a person get married 10 goddamn times. I don't think nothing of it. I'm like, hey, brother, keep on. You whatever. It might be you, though. Because if you get married 10 times, you probably the problem. But I would simply tell them, yo, keep working that. You just got to get it right once.
Right.
I know I get a little liffy, but I felt a little passionate about that thing. And anybody know me when I get passionate, I'm going to do it. Yeah, you're going to chime in. I hope you ain't lost your thought.
Kind of, but I think I can get it back real quick. Well, it wasn't a big thought. I was just really much agreeing with you. Oh, I know where I was going with it. I was agreeing with you about you saying you got to hear the other person out. So I was going to tie that back to when you said, Izzy, about the guy being insecure. Because a lot of times, like Kevin said about people coming from different walks of life, a lot of times when somebody address something, you kind of do yourself a disservice when you tell them they're insecure. I'm not saying you do that, but a lot of women call it got insecure because now you're shaming the person from addressing an issue that they actually have a problem with, for addressing something they actually have a problem with. And it may not even be an insecurity because sometimes a guy's giving a woman advice to save her from herself. When he's telling you, hey, you may not want to do this, you may not want to do that. And females say that's insecure or you're insecure, but now he's trying to help you from yourself. So, I mean, it's a coin what the guy's being insecure about. Is it a natural thing based on how he's raised, or is it something that he's actually trying to help you with? And you need to look at that as well before we just say he's insecure. But go ahead.
See, I was kind of speaking on insecurity and the fact that, like, yes, like we all have insecurities. Like no one is completely on all aspects secure in themselves. But I'm speaking more so of the fact that you're insecure. So what you do to, like, I guess, absolve that insecurity, you level it out by, like, saying like, oh, you can't do this or you can't do that. So you're holding me back. You know, and that's where that insecurity becomes a problem. Instead of you fixing that insecurity, you're holding me back as a way to fix that insecurity. But that's not realistic.
That may mean that, like KJ said, I mean, them two people may not just need to be together, because if I come from a 2-parent household and you come from a single-parent household, my idea on what you should be doing is maybe different than what your idea on what you should be doing. Because I may be saying, hey,
in that, though.
Exactly.
I was just about to say that, brother.
But you're saying the person is insecure off the rip, and you saying it should. Because some women do say, not saying you said it, Izzy, but some women, they won't even have the conversation. That's why you usually leave that woman if they think it's insecure. Like, you're trying to restrict them from being with their friends, and they believe like I should be able to party with my friends 2-3 in the morning, and you come from a 2-parent household, you don't think that should be happening. then y'all just need to split because they obviously believe this is something that's so pivotal to their life that you stopping that is restricting them. Because some people, sometimes you stop at something to get married. A person may feel like you are restricting them if they base their life on doing certain things.
I wouldn't say that's automatically mean you need to split. I would say the question of whether or not you need to split comes from after the conversation you have with them. Like if you have the conversation with them and you tell that person that this is, I'm uncomfortable with this. Because, okay, first thing first. Insecurity has a very negative connotation. So a lot of people, when they hear insecurity, they think that something is wrong with you. But you do realize that insecurity means I'm simply not comfortable with something. I think that this could possibly lead to something bad. So that doesn't mean that it's something's wrong with me because I'm insecure. Like if you walking down a goddamn dark alley and you see somebody come in your direction, that's an insecurity. I'm uncomfortable. I don't know. He might try to rob me. He might not.
Right.
But I am insecure because I don't know what's going to happen. I'm uncomfortable. That's all that is. So I know insecurity gets a bad connotation to it too. And a lot of people get to talking about that too. But like to bleed back into your point that I don't think that it's an automatically exit. Now, if you talk to that person and that person says, yo, this is what I do and continue, now because they don't have that willing to work, now you consider the idea of walking out. I don't think the act of longer the consideration of walking out because sometimes that person might not understand that that's a big deal to you because he might come from a family of men who always run the streets. His daddy might have been a pimp. So he might have been like, yo, we do this, we run, we hang out, but you might not be understanding that this woman needs you home, that she needs that leadership because if you hanging out all times of night, she feels unprotected in this house without you being there. And she can't sleep because if you coming in 4 a.m, she hearing the door, she's troubled. She's like, whoa, what is that? What is that? Because you ain't there, but not knowing that might be you coming in the house. So I think it's one of the things we got to talk about. So I don't think the action alone worth walking away for. I think depending on if the willingness to work it through, I think that determines whether or not you need to walk away.
But that's why I prefaced it by saying if she won't have the conversation at all and just saying you're insecure. Like some women, you bring up certain things, they don't even want to have the conversation around it because they feel like it's an insecure thing. Now that may be something they do to deflect from actually having a conversation, but that's why I say if it's one of those situations where she ain't even willing to talk about it, y'all just can't be together because this may be something you can't live with.
No, I don't disagree.
And to add on to that, I also feel like maybe if that's the case, she may have been in an experience that made her have to be like, you know what, this seems familiar, so no, I don't want to talk about it, and that's when it automatically brings up you're insecure. So I feel like if, like what Kevin said, if you communicate and you have the conversation, communication brings out a lot of things because maybe that might be her first initial response. But if we talk about it, then you'll be able to say, oh, well, I understand why you said what you said and how you feel what you feel. But at the end of the day, this is what the whole purpose of having the insecure conversation is to make both of y'all feel secure at the end of it. So what you say is, this is what I feel about this. This is how I feel about that. But if you can't come to an agreement to where both of y'all can feel secure, then eventually the only ending to that is a split, or you're going to be fighting or arguing all the time. So a split may have to happen, but a conversation can happen before that, because a lot of times when you're in a relationship and stuff like that happens, you're most definitely basing it off of what you've been through when you instantly put your wall up.
I agree.
But you don't talk about it. So you just be like, you just instantly get that, oh, this is a familiar feeling. But the other person don't know that this is something that you may have been through, because you don't talk about it. So communication is most definitely needed before walking away. Right.
I agree. And that's one of the things, like, let's say you and KJ friends, right? And you might have grown up with KJ. I'm using him. I know you're a brother, but let's just say example, y'all were friends. And you might have been through a lot of traumatic events in your life, and he was always there for you. So now you grow a comfort with, every time you feel unease, that's who you call. But then you meet somebody who wants to get married to you, and you calling your friend more than you calling your husband because you don't grow that comfort zone with all my bad events. They've always been there. This happened to me. They were there at 13. They were there at 20. They were there at this. And now that woman has a dependent that he's never going to be out of my life. You know, you got some women that I'll leave this person before I leave that person because they tie so much of their life to that friend. You know, and that may be something that y'all need to split apart. Be like, I can't have that. As a man, I don't feel secure with you being that close with another man that ain't your husband. You know, but that happens as well.
Yeah, it can happen, but I feel also like, once again, when you have that conversation, that's why I feel like the beginning of a relationship is so important, because that should be the place where you're talking, because it ain't no way me and you gonna be dating for such and such amount of 2-3 months into this thing, and you don't know about my best friend. I've known that maybe a guy, girl, whatever, for almost 12-13 years. You're gonna know about that person, because anybody that's relevant to you, you're going to talk about that person. They're always going to pop up. They're always going to come out your, you know, it's always going to be a conversation. But once again, when we first start talking, I'm talking about me now. If I had a male best friend, which I have had, I'm going to let you know right off the rip, like, this is a friend that I've always had. Now, I get that me and you are talking, and I understand that you're my man or what and whatnot. But this is the place that he has always held in my life. Yes, I may have to move a little different, not to say that I'm wrong in having my best friend, but of course a line has to cross, because no, you don't want to make that other person feel like they're not relevant. You get what I'm saying? But a respect would have to come all the way around, and everybody will understand the place that they're supposed to be in. You get what I'm saying? If they
it work out like that, both people are trying to make it understanding.
Right.
Yes.
If they want to make it work with an understanding, but there are people out there who just can't handle it, and for those who can't handle it, then it ain't for them. You know. I mean, but it's not always I want that person. It's just that me and him been friends since kindergarten. Girl, like, where is he really going? Like, you know?
I agree.
All right, guys. So this is the last thing. We reached to the end. It ain't too painful. So we always live when we talking to the people. So just quickly, man. What are some tips, man, that y'all think y'all can give to the people to help them stay up in love out this thing? You know what I'm saying? Let's talk to the people for a second. What are some tips, man, that y'all personally feel that can help y'all stay in love out here? Riz, I'm gonna go with you because I see you down there. I see you laughing down there, man. Go ahead, man. Talk to me.
I knew you was gonna pick me. Honesty. Just be honest as you can. That'll help you when you're entering into a relationship or anything. Just going it with the truth, because and like we kept saying, is communication, honesty and communication. Just be honest. That's how I feel about it. You can't go wrong when you coming in the right way.
Izzy, what you think, man? What are some tips, man, you got for the people, man? Keep them in love out here.
I would definitely say, like, a big one is communication. Always communicate how you feel, what you're going through. And, just also, I think, like, a big thing is loving yourself. You got to love yourself first before you can love anyone else.
I like that.
So, you just got to be able to, like, really, like, be patient with yourself, and you'll realize how, like, the relationship is gonna, like, progress and stay consistent if you're, like, if you give yourself that grace and love as well.
That's good.
Cool.
Like that.
Matt, man, what you think, man? What are some tips out here, man, to help these folks stay in love out here?
I would say, of course, communication is, that's a known thing. I think that's for every relationship. I would say, to be a little different, I would say, always evolving and setting expectations together as a couple. I don't think you should be the same person at 25, at 40, at 40, at 50. I also think we don't set enough, like hearing stories from successful relationships. I also think we don't set goals together. We do day by day. I think you should have 5-year plans together, 10-year plans together. Y'all should have, expectations of where we want this to go. And too many, in the same way you met, if you was a person that met, not saying you're gonna be the same person, but if you was a person that met somebody being exciting, doing things, people typically get married and now get complacent and feel like, I can fall back now. Not saying, of course, you're gonna fall back a little bit because you're gonna start having kids and stuff. But I think you still want to keep things spiced up. You still want to be doing things. You still want to, try new restaurants. Or maybe, spice your sex life up. Don't just do the same thing every single year, every single day, the same old conversations. Change the TV shows up. Like just do different things every certain amount of years to kind of change up, because nobody wants to see their life and see the ending of their life planning out the same way over the next 40 years together. That's when it gets done. It's like, I want to be in something different. A lot of times it ain't yet the person ain't in love with the person they're with. A lot of times some marriages don't work out. It's just they not in love with the routine no more, and they tie that to the actual person. That routine has become so stale. They're like, I just got to get something different. And so anybody else that shows them anything different can actually make them fall in love because their lifestyle they grew out of.
Oh man, that was beautiful. I totally agree with everything everybody say. I'm not even gonna have to regurgitate a lot of that. Only thing I would add, man, is we got to have grace, man. You got to give people grace. You have to give grace out here. We cannot be so stubborn in our ways of maybe we may have came up or whatever may have you, and not choosing to understand people and consider something. We come up differently. So we have to have this thing grace, man. We have to give out this grace. I think everything else everybody says, of course, communication, all this stuff is very important, man. But yeah, the only add-on I had, man, is we got to give grace. And that's for all levels of love. That's for the coupleship. That's for the friendship. That's for family.
Right.
Listen,
that's true.
You got to give grace, man. Sometimes you can't put that demand on, no, you got to do it when I say do it. Nah, yo. Sometimes you got to give people grace. Everybody's not like you. You got to be understanding to just know that everybody's not like you. So that's all I got to say, man. Just give the people grace. All right, guys. So y'all know.
Let me say one thing real quick. I definitely agree with that. But I will also say you don't want to give grace to the point where you're jeopardizing yourself in giving grace as well, because that happens a lot of too. If it's something that is one of your core values of life that you don't agree with, that may not just be the person for you. Some things I do agree with you in totality though, KJ. There's a lot of not giving grace and understanding, but I think some people also give too much grace to where they sacrifice their self in trying to understand the other person as well.
Yeah, I definitely agree. That comes with one of y'all said too about the understanding of yourself. Like, of course, like how they always say, in order to love somebody else, you got to first be able to love yourself. So if you don't have that value for yourself, then that's typically where you then end up moving within that place and others before you. So yeah, of course, you never really want to be in a position where you're doing that, of course. But y'all know the era we live in. We live in this social media age, so gotta let people get their plugs, let people know where they can find you. People might want to get in contact with you, do whatever, might want to understand more about the way you think. Izzy, man, run your plug, man. Tell the people where they can find you.
You guys can follow me at IzzyOjo94 on Instagram, so hit that follow button.
Okay, most definitely. Rissa, tell the people where they can find you, man. Run your plug.
Well, I'm just visiting, but I'll be back on the show whenever my brother allows me to.
Oh, listen, man, it's okay, man. Like, listen, man. Listen, I'm an introvert, man, and a lot of the people who typically move around and come up with me, they're typically introverts as well. We ain't really out here trying to build it, because I don't have them social medias. Like, this is the first time I ever did a social media type of thing was when I jumped into YouTube. Because I don't really, I don't really I don't really care what other people are doing, and I don't really care to have people in my business as well. You know what I'm saying? So I move that way too. So it ain't weird it might be weird for some people because they're super social, but it's definitely not weird for people to hear people say, yo, listen, you rock with KJ, you jump on Humble Beginner, that's where you'll find me. because that's the only way you're gonna find me too. You know what I'm saying? Unless you build within my other avenues or whatever may have you. But that's it.
Right.
So Matt, tell the people where they can find you, man.
Matthew Washington, Facebook. Everything else coming soon, man. And y'all make sure y'all hit that like button too.
Oh yeah, man.
Yes.
Hey,
hit the
so
like
that
button.
was a good one, man. Yo, that wasn't too painful. Was it people?
Nah,
It
that
was
was a great
painful.
conversation.
I enjoyed it.
But
All right,
I
y'all.
enjoyed it.
So-
Thank you for having me.
Oh yeah, it's always a blessing. I always tell y'all, man, I can't do it without y'all, man. I ain't really want to come on here and talk to myself. You know what I'm saying? So I need to have the people to talk to. But all right, y'all, we out.